You know, God has something special for each and every one of us.
Yes, sir.
He has a special design, and a special place for each and every one of us.
Open our eyes, Lord.
I was reading this little story, and it says a certain evangelist's wife had passed away. It says when he was away in meetings, he hired a babysitter to take care of his two sons. Whenever he had been away, he would always bring them a gift when he arrived back home. One day, he came home and he had forgotten to buy his boys a gift. When they asked for their presents, the father told them that he would take them to the store and that they could have whatever they wanted at the store. When they arrived, the first thing that they saw was candy on the counter. They decided they wanted to buy candy. Their father said, "Let's look around a little bit more first." Then they went to the toy department and they saw some cowboy suits complete with guns and hats and ropes and everything else. And they both yelled, "This is what we want." Their father replied, "Let's look around a little bit first." Next, they went into the sporting goods and found basketballs. They began to dribble these about the place and told their father that they wanted to buy the balls. The father said, "Let's look around just a little bit more." So they continued to shop, and as they did, they spotted two brand new bicycles against the back wall. Their father saw what they were looking at and said, "How would you like to have those bikes?" The two boys left the store with far more than they bargained for because their father refused to let them settle for less than the best. He had intended to buy the bikes all along. The two boys thought candy would be wonderful, but their father had something far more wonderful in mind.
The best is yet to come.
You know, it's so important that we realize sometimes we don't get the first thing that we come across that we think we want. It's because God has something far more better for us in store.
Spiritual eyes, Lord.
He has plans for us that we can only begin to imagine. We see things and formulate plans that we think would be wonderful, but God has something far more special for us
How loving is
than we
He?
can ever imagine.
Very loving.
We're going to take a look at the life of Joseph and how it illustrates this truth. Joseph's life, it demonstrates 4 facts that we will find true as you travel through the path God has cleared for us.
Teach us.
If we can remember these truths, then no matter how dark the clouds, how depressing the circumstances, or how diligent the critics,
The unclouded day.
you will always be aware of the fact that God has something special for you. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 37. We're going to start with verse 1. It says, "Now Jacob dwelt in the land where his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. This is the history of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all of his children because he was the son of his old age. Also, he he made him a tunic of many colors. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. So he said to them, "Please hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were binding sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And indeed your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf." And his brothers said to him, "Shall you indeed reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us?" So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Then he dreamed still another dream and told it to his brothers and said, "Look, I have dreamed another dream. And this time the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to me." So he told it to his father and his brothers, and his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? For your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow down to the earth before you?" And his brothers envied him, but his father kept the matter in mind.
This is a future event.
You know, we look at these verses and we see that Joseph, he was different. If you read the story of his life, it is a plan to see that Joseph stood, it's plain to see that Joseph stood out. He was different. He stood out from his brothers in his commitment, his character, in his clothing, and as a result, his brothers hated him.
I like that commitment part.
His brothers hated him because he was different. Today, being different is socially unacceptable. The secret to popularity is conformity. You know, the secret to being popular or to being part of the group or part of with everyone else is you have to conform to what they want.
But you got to be yourself.
That's the only way. You know, the world tells us that to get along, we must go along.
The world is confused.
Everyone wants to fit in. Everyone wants to be accepted.
Sure, love.
But we need to realize that being different is okay. Being different is perfectly fine. It's exactly what we need to
No
be.
DNA the same.
While the world calls us to conform, the Bible gives us a far different message.
It sure is.
The Bible warns us against conformity.
And there's a good way to go.
It tells us that we're not supposed to conform to the world.
There's a way that seems right, but
And we need to be different because we are different. The main reason why you should be different is because you are. God made you an individual. You know, they can prick your finger and take your blood, and your blood is completely different from everybody else's.
no DNA the same.
There's no DNA the same. All the snowflakes that fall from the sky
Snowflake the same.
in the wintertime, and there's not a single snowflake that is shaped the same.
And there's trillions.
They're all different, just like everybody's fingerprint. It's all different. Every person is created different. But we don't have to, and we don't have to conform to the crowd. We don't have to be like the group of people that's walking down the street with their headphones in their ears, not paying attention to anything going on around them other than the 2 steps in front of them. We don't have to be like them.
Nope.
We don't have to be like the world.
You can have a purpose.
We don't have to be like
You
the
can be
world.
purpose driven.
We don't have to fit into somebody's mold in order to be accepted. The only person that we need to be pleasing to is God. He is the one that we need to conform to,
The
not the
creator
world.
Of everything.
You know, in verse 5, it tells us that there's a special plan for us, for each and every one of
Oh,
us.
it's a wonderful plan.
It tells us that Joseph, he dreamed a dream. In that dream, the Lord revealed the future to Joseph. In this dream, God showed Joseph that one day all of the resources and all the rulers of the world would bow down at the feet of Joseph.
Yes. God gave you that wisdom? Wow.
God had a special plan for the life of Joseph. He has a special plan for our lives as well.
And Joseph didn't give up either.
People many times lack the faith or the vision to find out what God's plan is for them.
Seek his face.
There's something God wants you to do. There's something He wants me to do. He has something for you to do that no one else can
He
do.
didn't make nothing he didn't make something.
We're
for
all
nothing.
made different because we each have something to do.
God didn't make something for nothing.
He wants to work in you, through you, and around you in a very unique and special way. And the thing is we got to know up front that there's going to be those around who will try to break our dreams. We got to know up front that there are people that's going to hate us for what we do.
Opposition's good. Gives us something.
And if you notice, Joseph's brothers reacted to him the same way. There will always be those who lack the faith and the vision and will tell you that your dreams are either inconceivable, impractical, or impossible.
Message to all peoples.
Now, how many people have had a dream and people say that it's impossible to
You
do?
can't do that.
It's impossible.
Impossible.
And you know, the truth is that God had a plan for Joseph that sustained him during the times when he was a slave in Egypt and when he was in prison.
It's the plan of salvation for the whole world.
Often during the storms and battles of life, our dreams seem to be all that we have left. The next thing is that there are special problems for you. The life of Joseph is one of great problems and trials. As you continue reading in Genesis, you'll see he went through a lot.
He had a rocky road. Run through the field.
In verse 18, his brothers conspired against him. In verse 21, he was thrown into a pit. In verse 28, he was sold as a slave.
He was a slave.
In chapter 39, he was falsely accused. In chapter 40, he is thrown into prison.
Would you say that's a test? That's a test.
Joseph was forsaken by his family, forgotten by his friends, and frustrated in his failures. But we have to remember that these things that happened to Joseph were just part of God's plan for his life.
There's an example.
If he hadn't went through any of these things, he wouldn't have ended up where he was.
Made him a better man.
That the dream that he had would have never came true.
Made him a better man.
Sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's still the truth. Life is unfair. That plain and simple. I hear the kids, they'll say, well, that's not fair. That's not fair. Well, the truth is life is not fair. That's what it boils down to. Life is not fair.
Storms never last.
It doesn't have to be fair. If the Lord came to this earth and was crucified, then what makes us think that life will treat us fairly?
Look what they did to Jesus.
Look what they did to Jesus. He didn't deserve any of it.
No, he didn't. He was innocent.
Was that fair? No, it wasn't.
We owe Jesus.
Why did these things happen to a young man who was guilty of nothing more than obeying the will of God? Joseph is the Old Testament illustration of one of the New Testament's greatest promises.
Amen.
You know, through all the problems that Joseph faced, the Lord is teaching him the difference between growing old and growing up.
It all points to life.
We need to remember that God is always doing great things in our lives. Remembering these will help us when the storm clouds of life begin to gather around us.
You better hold on, because there's going to be storms.
God is always guiding us. God is always guarding us.
His word's always true.
God is always gauging us. He's always measuring us. He's constantly measuring our growth. God is far more concerned about how we react to what we face than what we are facing. God is always growing us. God isn't as concerned about delivering us out of our mess as He is about us growing out of the mess we are in.
Been there, done that, huh?
He's in the saint building business. That's what He's doing. He's building up a house of saints.
He's a soul man.
And we always have to remember that there is a special person with us. Repeatedly, the Bible tells us that God was always with Joseph. In everything that Joseph faced, he had a helper and a companion. He was always with him. God was always with Joseph through all the hard times that he went through.
Never leave you or forsake you.
3 times in chapter 39, we are told that the Lord was with Joseph. It will be helpful for us to see just how the Lord was with him.
It'll be needful as we need it.
In chapter 39, verses 1 through 3, he was with him in servitude. Even though he was a slave, Joseph conducted himself like a ruler. God was preparing him to be. No matter what he went through, he always conducted himself in a certain way. Instead of griping and complaining or whining and belly aching and fussing about his situation, he just served Potiphar.
Now he knew wherever he was.
And he did the best job that he could do. In verses 7 through 19,
He was recognized.
he was with him in seduction. Potiphar's wife tried everything in her power to seduce Joseph. But he stood strong in the Lord and he fended off her advances.
Temptation.
God was teaching Joseph that no price could be placed on a clean conscience.
Nothing's above God.
He lost his coat, but he was able to keep his conscience
Saved his soul.
and able to keep his faith. Verses 21 through 23, he was with him in suffering.
Never leave or forsake you.
Even when Joseph was forced to endure the shame of a false imprisonment, he was with him and he blessed him.
An innocent man.
We all know the rest of the story. God turned tragedy, temptation, torment, and trouble into a great triumph. God brought all Joseph's dreams to pass, teaching Joseph and us this lesson. You know, Joseph, he never quit.
No.
He never quit. He never stopped believing, and he never stopped trusting.
He had commitment.
He never stopped dreaming. Everything in his life that God wanted to do, he did. Through it all, Joseph never wavered.
No.
He never compromised, and he never flinched. And as a result of that, he won the victory, and so can we.
And he has a great reward here and
So
there.
can we.
This life and the one to come. God, lead Joseph could cut it.
I heard a story about a fellow who came into a town to a Little League baseball game. He looked at the scoreboard and it said 21-0. A little boy was sitting on the bench while his team was out in the field. The other team was batting, and the fellow said to the little boy on the bench, he said, "Son, it looks pretty bad for your team, doesn't it?" The little boy said, "No, sir. We haven't even come to bat yet. We haven't even come to bat yet." Sometimes it may look like the world and the flesh and the devil are winning. But we have to remember, with God on your side, you will always win, because he has something special for you.
With God, all
Something
things are
special
possible.
for you. So we have to keep dreaming and trusting and serving,
Keep the faith.
because God is preparing a great victory for us to enjoy.
Know that you know he is.
He truly has something special for us. Truly has something special.
It's going to be unbelievable, I hear.
You know, if we could all have as much faith as the boy at the Little League ball game.
Yes.
21-0.
Hadn't even come
Seems
to
like a
that.
shutout, don't it? And his answer is, we haven't even come up to bat yet.
That's 22 home runs.
We haven't even come up to bat yet. You know, we need to have that kind of faith. We need to have that kind of faith that shows the devil, no matter what he throws at us, we know that we haven't even come up to bat yet.
Seek and you shall find.
We haven't even batted yet.
No. Bless everyone.
You know, no matter what we go through, the trials, everything that we go through, God is with us always.